Chapter 31. After the charming concubine became pregnant, the emperor doted on him every night. 31. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The queen held all the cards, but as a concubine, Meow Meow knew her place. Do as she was told. Each day, she dutifully shadowed the queen, serving her every whim like a personal maid. Whenever the emperor graced the queen's palace, the queen made sure to parade Meow Meow before him, hoping to spark his interest. But 2 months crawled by, and the emperor remained indifferent, not even giving her a second glance. This frustrated the queen to no end. Then, a few days back, the emperor unexpectedly visited. The queen was thrilled, and seizing the moment, she signaled her head maid to slip the emperor a little something in his tea. After he'd taken a sip, the queen made up an excuse to leave, leaving Meow Meow to tend to his majesty, but something was off. After the queen left, the emperor seemed lost in thought, barely acknowledging her presence before departing with a thunderous look on his face. Meow Meow was clueless as to what went wrong, but the next morning, word spread that the emperor had brought a woman from outside the palace walls. This newcomer was immediately granted the title of second-rank noble concubine, sending the queen into a jealous rage, culminating in a stinging slap across Meow Meow's face. Meow Meow endured it in silence. Powerless to retaliate, 3 days passed. She heard the new concubine had paid her respects to the Empress Dowager, but still hadn't acknowledged the queen. This only fueled the queen's discontent. The queen felt that Meow Meow was useless and not able to seize the opportunity even if it was created for her. Humph, I thought you were lucky, but you're just a disappointment. The queen's eyes were like ice, fixed on her with the cold, predatory gaze of a viper. Your Majesty, it's all my fault. Please, give me another chance. I'll make it count this time. What choice did she have but to beg, to obey, to appease the queen? Disobeying the queen meant certain death. The queen had countless ways to make someone disappear without a trace. Even if she were to die, Zhang Yuni wouldn't dare seek vengeance on her behalf. As dusk began to settle, the queen instructed her head maid to prepare the evening meal. Everything is ready, Your Majesty, the maid whispered. Little Plum. A young eunuch scurried to the queen's side, bowing low. Your Majesty, how may I serve you? He was the queen's chief eunuch, usually running errands and delivering messages. Sometimes, he also took care of the queen's dirtier business. Tell a junior eunuch to inform His Majesty that I'm feeling unwell and would appreciate his company. Yes, I'll relay the message at once. Zhang Miao watched the queen's machinations, fear gripping her heart. She was terrified, but she had to steel herself, disobey the queen, and she was as good as dead. In this palace, everyone knew the queen was second only to the emperor and empress dowager in power. Xiao Zhenye set down his brush and glanced at the doorway. Luda, what time is it? Luda pushed open the door and entered. Your Majesty, it's past Shenshur. What's all the commotion out there? Your Majesty, a eunuch from the Queen's palace is here to inform you that the Queen is feeling unwell and requests your presence. Ha! If she's not feeling well, why not call for the imperial physician? What good am I? It's not like my mere presence will cure her, he said cynically. Of course, Your Majesty, your presence would cheer her right up. Luda thought to himself, but dared not say it aloud. Xiao Zhenye knew it was just an excuse to lure him to her palace. Back in the day, whenever his concubines wanted his attention, they'd feign some ailment or another. Before Yun Yuran, he was willing to play along. After all, the endless hours of government work could be tedious. They offered a welcome distraction, and he was happy to oblige. But now, with Yun Yuran in his life, he had no patience for their games. He just wanted to finish his duties and rush to Mengyu Palace to spend time with his beloved, to shower her with affection. Xiao Zhenye pinched the bridge of his nose, considering his options. Send the eunuch back with a message, tell the queen I'll be there shortly, and she shouldn't let her imagination get the best of her. Yes, Your Majesty. I'll deliver the message immediately. His gaze fell on the memorial from the border, a dark glint in his eyes. It was signed by Zhang Feng himself, updating him on the situation at the border. He concluded by stating that he wished to return to the capital, as his family had arranged a marriage for him, and he sought the emperor's approval. He'd concocted a perfectly reasonable excuse to return to Beijing. How could he refuse? To deny him would paint him as cruel, oppressive, and indifferent to his subjects' lives. Xiao Zhenye resumed his work on the remaining memorials. By the time he looked up again, the palace was illuminated by candlelight, the flickering flames cast dancing shadows. As the candle wax dripped onto the stand, Lu De approached the emperor. "Your Majesty, do you still wish to visit the Queen's palace?" Xiao Zhenye was reminded that he'd promised to visit the Queen's palace. What he was looking forward to was to spend time with Yun Yuran. He'd completely forgotten about the Queen. Xiao Zhenye's face darkened. "Lead the way to Fengchao Palace." After finally completing the memorials, and looking forward to some time with his beloved, the appearance of the Queen ruined his mood. "You'd better make it count this time," the Queen warned Zhang Miao. "Yes, Your Majesty. I'll remember your instructions." "You'd better. Otherwise, you'll face the consequences." Her tone was cold, laced with menace. Zhang Miao lowered her gaze, her body trembling slightly. She was terrified. The Queen's ruthless methods were never far from her mind. This was her last chance, and she had to seize it. "His Majesty has arrived." The Queen and Zhang Miao hurried to the palace entrance. "Your Majesty, your concubine and her lady-in-waiting greet you. Rise." The emperor's face was unreadable, offering no clue to his thoughts. Xiao Zhenye entered the hall, his brow furrowing at the lavish spread laid out on the table. After what happened last time, he wouldn't dare eat a thing in the Queen's palace. What if she resorted to desperate measures and tried to poison him? He had to protect himself and the ones he loved. How could someone so delicate and innocent survive in this treacherous palace without his protection? With her beauty, she'd be preyed upon without a strong backer. Didn't the Queen say she was feeling unwell? He asked, settling on the couch. The Queen smiled obsequiously. "Your Majesty, I was feeling quite ill, but upon hearing of your arrival, I felt a sudden improvement. Though I'm still a little under the weather, I feel much better." "Oh, really? In that case, the next time the Queen feels ill, there's no need to call the imperial physician. I'll visit whenever I have the time. After all, my presence seems to be the cure. It'll save the palace a great deal on medical supplies." Chapter 32. After the charming concubine became pregnant, the emperor doted on him every night. 32. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Listening to the emperor's sarcastic tone, the Queen's nails nearly pierced her skin, but she forced a smile and simpered. "Your Majesty, it's only because I've missed you so terribly that I speak this way." "Humph." Xiao Zhenye grunted, offering no further comment. "I instructed the kitchen to prepare dinner early, anticipating your arrival." "Have you eaten, Your Majesty?" "I was tied up approving memorials, didn't have time. Besides, I heard the Queen wasn't feeling well, so I came straight to Fengchao Palace after finishing." "Then, please, Your Majesty, have a meal." The emperor, eyeing the exquisite spread, felt a pang of hunger. His stomach grumbled, a clear reminder that it was dinner time. Xiao Zhenye subtly signaled Lu De, understanding, proceeded to taste each dish, checking for poison. After the all clear, Lu De nodded, and Xiao Zhenye approached the table to eat. With so many witnesses, the Queen wouldn't dare try anything too obvious. Besides, he'd arrived at Fengchao Palace in a high-profile manner. If something happened to him here, the blame would fall squarely on the Queen. "Miao Miao, serve His Majesty." "Yes, Your Majesty," Zhang Miao responded, standing obediently beside the emperor. Xiao Zhenye watched the Queen's performance with a knowing smirk. She hadn't given up on getting him to accept another concubine. He glanced at Zhang Miao. She was about Yun Yuran's age, slender and graceful, with a meek, innocent face. Had he not been spoiled by Yun Yuran's beauty, he might have considered her quite stunning, but after seeing Yun Yuran, such looks were simply ordinary. "That won't be necessary," the emperor said, refusing Zhang Miao's service. He looked at Lu De, who immediately stepped forward. "Your Majesty, allow me to serve you." Xiao Zhenye nodded, ignoring Zhang Miao completely. He usually avoided talking to the Queen and had never paid much attention to Zhang Miao. This was the first time he'd really looked at her. Zhang Miao bit her lip, glancing at the Queen in embarrassment. The Queen, frustrated by her lack of initiative, wanted to strangle her. If His Majesty declines, shouldn't she find another way to entice him? so dense. The queen glared at Zhang Miao, who retreated silently. After dinner, Xiao Zhenye stood up. Since the queen is feeling better, I should get back. Don't want to interrupt your rest. Your Majesty, it's rare for you to visit. Please, stay a while longer. Seeing him about to leave, the queen pleaded, her eyes reddening, thinking of Zhang Feng at the border. Xiao Zhenye reluctantly sat back down. The queen's palace felt more stifling than ever. After another half hour, Xiao Zhenye really had to leave. The queen blurted out, Your Majesty, it's so late. Why not spend the night here? Can't. Have government affairs to attend to. As he reached the door, Xiao Zhenye suddenly seemed to see Yun Yuran, smiling at him. He slipped into a trance. Your Majesty, Zhang Miao called out nervously. Luda, watching the emperor, noticed a peculiar shift. His face softened, becoming gentle and affectionate as he looked at Zhang Miao as if she were his most beloved concubine. Seeing this sudden change, Zhang Miao boldly called out again, Your Majesty. In Xiao Zhenye's mind, it was the shy Yun Yuran who was speaking. He walked lovingly toward Zhang Miao, taking her hand with tender consideration. Ran, what are you doing here? Zhang Miao, standing close, heard the name clearly. She knew he had mistaken her for someone else. Seeing the emperor's tender gaze, the queen's face went pale, then twisted with rage. She had administered the drug herself, knowing its effect was to induce an illusion. He wouldn't see anyone clearly, only the first person he saw after the drug took effect, and that person would appear as his beloved. She had planned everything. The meal was untouched, but the incense burning contained special spices, and she'd placed a particular medicine on Zhang Miao's clothing. After inhaling the incense and smelling the herbs, the emperor would fall into a dreamlike state. The wearer of the Yaoyin becomes the person he misses. Your Majesty, Miao Miao has been here all along. Xiao Zhenye stroked Zhang Miao's cheek. Why didn't Ran call me, today? Zhang Miao, flustered and shy, stammered, I. That's better. He gently pinched the tip of Zhang Miao's nose. Your Majesty, Luda said, sensing something was seriously wrong. Hearing Luda, the queen snapped, Eunuch Lu, leave us. Don't disturb His Majesty. She glanced at Xiao Lizi by the door. Xiao Lizi, understanding, waved to another eunuch, and together they dragged Luda out of the palace. Luda, now frantic, tried to resist. The queen, remaining calm, said, Eunuch Lu, don't bother struggling. His Majesty can favor whomever he chooses. You, a servant, can't control that. Indeed, the emperor's choice was his own. What right did a eunuch have to interfere? Luda, defeated, left without a word. He discreetly signaled a young eunuch to inform Yun Yuran. He knew something was wrong with the emperor, and it involved Yun Yuran. He'd clearly heard His Majesty call out Ran, not Miao Miao. He wouldn't have lasted this long by the emperor's side if he were clueless. He wasn't blind or deaf. There was definitely something wrong with His Majesty, otherwise, he wouldn't mistake a stranger for someone else. Besides, the emperor despised the queen. Why would he suddenly favor her concubine? He would have done so long ago if he wanted to. The young eunuch, understanding Luda's signal, slipped out of Fengchao Palace unnoticed. He headed straight for Mengyu Palace, as Luda had instructed. Arriving at Mengyu Palace, he needed to find the noble concubine. Yun Yuran, having waited in vain for the emperor, had washed up and was about to go to bed. Suddenly, she heard hurried footsteps approaching, and someone seemed agitated. Soon there was a knock on the door. Yun Yuran said, Chunhua, see who's there. Chunhua was surprised. She hadn't heard any knocking. She almost asked if Yun Yuran was mistaken, but then she remembered her place. Why should she, a servant, question her mistress? She would simply obey. Yes. Chapter 33. After the charming concubine became pregnant, the emperor doted on him every night. 33. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chunhua went out and returned with a young eunuch. Your Majesty, the eunuch said, bowing. Yun Yuran waved a dismissive hand. What is it? She asked, sounding bored. Your Majesty, Eunuch Luda asked me to tell you that you're expected at Fengchao Palace. Fengchao Palace? That's the queen's place. Why would she need to be summoned there so late? Did Luda say why? That the young eunuch shook his head. No, your majesty. Eunuch Luda didn't mention anything specific. He did say his majesty was supposed to dine with the queen, but something must have happened afterward. The queen's people practically dragged Eunuch Luda out of there, and his majesty didn't come out either. Luda looked really upset. He hinted that I should come to Menu Palace and, if I may be so bold, I think he wants you to know that you're needed at Fengchao Palace. Hearing the emperor was at Fengchao Palace, Yun Yuren's face darkened, and she looked like a storm cloud, seriously. He's already searching for another woman. It's only been 3 days since she entered the palace, and he's already running to the queen. Yun Yuran gave a sarcastic smile. His Majesty wants to be with the queen. Why would he want me there? Am I supposed to watch them make goo-goo eyes at each other? That the little eunuch trembled at Yun Yuren's expression. Madam, Eunuch Luda was practically kidnapped, and the queen has guards all over the place. I think something's wrong with his Majesty, or else they wouldn't be watching the eunuch so closely. Then let's go, Yun Yuran said, cutting him off. She needed to see what kind of game the queen was playing. Yun Yuran adjusted her clothes, and Chunhua draped a cloak over her shoulders. The little eunuch sounded panicked, so Yun Yuran knew it was serious. This involved the emperor. If it wasn't an emergency, Luda wouldn't have sent for her. Even though Yun Yuran was upset, she knew where her priorities lay. She was carrying the emperor's child. She had to save him. She walked so fast that Chunhua, Nanny, Xiao Shizi, and the eunuch struggled to keep up. Arriving at Fengchao Palace, she saw the main gates were closed, and Luda and other eunuchs from the queen's palace stood guard outside. From inside, she could hear the emperor's amorous moans, his voice as smooth as silk. He was calling her name. At the same time, she heard a woman's delicate gasps. Disgusted, Yun Yuran glared at Luda and walked towards him. Is this what you wanted me to hear, Eunuch Luda? Her tone was icy. She had always been docile and well-behaved, but now she was a woman scorned, and Luda was shocked. Was this the same charming, gentle woman he knew? She looked terrifying. Like a demon crawling out of hell, her eyes made him feel like he was about to be torn limb from limb. Luda immediately bowed. Your ladyship. The other eunuchs followed suit. Your ladyship, they echoed. Yun Yuran ignored them, waving a dismissive hand. Your ladyship. Empress, Luda stammered, swallowing hard. Yun Yuran's presence was overwhelming. Even he, who constantly stood in awe of the emperor's majesty, felt intimidated. Hearing the noises from inside, Yun Yuran spoke sarcastically. Quite the party. His Majesty has more than enough energy to spare. Had she been worrying about the emperor for nothing? It was all a joke. She was a fool. Self-indulgent. If she had known this, she would have stopped him the first time. She'd been so proud of herself for deceiving the emperor, but in the end, she was the one who had been deceived, and so deeply, she could practically hear her own heart breaking. How ironic. How ridiculous. It's true what they say, you can't hold on to genuine affection, and trickery is the way to a man's heart, but the joke's on you if you're the one who gets played. Luda listened to the sounds coming from inside and looked at Yun Yuran's mournful face. Madam, it's a misunderstanding. This is all a misunderstanding. Ha! A misunderstanding? Do you think I'm blind and deaf? That she activated her wood-type powers, peering through the door to see everything clearly. The emperor was holding the disheveled woman, nuzzling her hair, the woman's soft moans, the emperor's light laughter of pleasure, the emperor caressing her and calling her name. Yun Yuran couldn't take it anymore. The system quickly warned, Sharan, calm down. Your personality's collapsing. I don't care about my personality. I've had it. This is infuriating. It's too much. That she was disgusted by the idea of being with a stallion, but she tolerated it, hoping he'd be faithful, but the thought of him being with so many other women made her want to vomit. Ugh. She doubled over, retching. Xiao Ran, don't do anything rash. Think about your revenge, about your original world. that the system was desperately trying to keep her from collapsing. She'd fallen in love for the first time in her life, and it ended like this. She watched helplessly as the emperor picked up the woman and carried her to the bed. She fought back the nausea, turning to Luda, her voice was calm. "Eunuch Luda, I'm sorry to have bothered you. Please, carry on." The queen heard the voice and came out of the palace. She only saw a graceful back disappearing into the night. Who was it? The queen told her nanny to ask Xiao Lizi who the woman was. Yun Yuran had come and gone quickly, the whole thing lasting less than a few minutes. It was as if it never happened. Yun Yuran left Fengchao Palace and used her first-level wood-type power to encourage growth. There was a potted plant near the door of the room. She saw that the flower vines were growing longer and thicker, like a giant python. Using her second-level wood-type power of damage, a transparent force enveloped the vine, controlling it and whipping it hard against the door. The door cracked and shattered, reduced to rubble. Yun Yuran then used her third-level wood-type power of destruction. Invisible flames consumed the flower vines, and they vanished without a trace. Finally, using her fourth-level wood-type power of repair, she restored the damaged vines, leaving no evidence of what had happened. The potted plant quietly returned to its original state, as if nothing had occurred. The women and the emperor were so focused on each other that they didn't notice anything. Chapter 34 After the charming concubine became pregnant, the emperor doted on him every night. 34. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The eunuch and Luda, who were on guard outside, heard a loud crash and spun around. They saw the door in splinters, a pile of rubble. Tui. Several people spat out dust, their faces etched with disbelief. The gate, just, gone. Inside, the emperor, startled by the sudden noise, raised his hand, about to strike, but the force drained from him. He snapped out of the illusion, realizing his situation. With a flick of his wrist, the bed curtains fell. Seeing the red-faced woman beneath him was not Yun Yuran, he flew into a rage. He kicked her out of the bed, naked as she was. Luckily, he still wore a robe, revealing only a glimpse of his toned abs. His bloodshot eyes and dark scowl revealed the depth of his fury, his desire to kill. Yun Yuran smirked. "Huh," she thought, "that's what you get for betraying my mother. I'll make sure you never rise to the occasion again." He'd lost so much face, so what if he'd been tricked? Being tricked once was bad enough, but twice. It just proved he was a fool. If you don't take precautions, you have only yourself to blame. No one has the right to use what was once mine. Even if I'm done with it, I'd rather destroy it than let anyone else have it. The system sighed in relief. Thank goodness no major catastrophe had occurred. It had feared the host would lose control, storm Fengchao Palace, and kill the emperor. Just then, Chunhua, Mami, Xiao Shizi, and a young eunuch arrived. "Why aren't you inside?" Chunhua asked, breathless. All eyes turned to Yun Yuran. "I already went in to check. His Majesty is fine." She had her revenge and was feeling fantastic. Seeing Yun Yuran's good mood, Xiao Shizi grinned. "Girl, you're so fast. We were practically running and still couldn't catch up. What can I say? Don't let my size fool you. I'm small, but I pack a punch." She said it casually, and the others just took it as a joke. "That's right, girl, you're the best." Xiao Shizi gave a thumbs up, practically bursting with enthusiasm. "Ha! You have excellent taste," Yun Yuran said, not one to turn down a compliment. "Let's head back to Mengyu Palace. His Majesty is occupied right now. Best not to disturb him." Back in Mengyu Palace, Yun Yuran washed up and lay in bed, pondering the future. "Xiao Ran, are you really okay?" The system asked with concern. "What does it matter?" She could only silently try to soothe the ache in her heart. "Don't be sad, Xiao Ran. He's just a jerk. Not worth it. Once we finish the mission, we're out of here." "Right. By the way, how have Yun Weiniang and Xiao Ziheng been these past few days? What do you think?" Yun Weiniang's got what she wanted, so she's gloating. Xiao Ziheng's been plotting with officials on how to get the emperor to name an heir ASAP. Even the queen's brother, General Ding Yuan, was called back by Zhang Yuni, the prime minister, using some excuse. And the emperor approved it. What excuse? That his family had arranged a marriage for him. Pfft. Ha ha ha. The queen has to be at least 30, right? And her brother's still single. It's a remarriage, the system corrected. Oh. Yun Yuran stopped laughing, her tone turning serious. The system sensed the lingering sadness in her heart. Didn't you deny having feelings for the emperor just 3 days ago? You didn't actually fall for him, did you? Yun Yuran shot the system a glare. What, are you happy to see me eat crow? No, no, no. You're imagining things. I'm not happy at all. Even so, it sounded like it was gloating. Yun Yuran ignored the system and closed her eyes. She was a fool. Letting herself be tempted by an emperor. Asking for trouble, expecting an emperor to cherish you. Pure fantasy. Meanwhile, in Fengchao Palace, Xiao Zhenye was covered in blood. He felt like he was about to explode, veins throbbing with pain. Queen, tell me. What is going on? That he kicked the queen in the chest, his voice as cold and sharp as an ice sword, devoid of emotion. His eyes burned into her. The queen, knocked to the ground, trembled as she stared into the emperor's murderous gaze. She had never seen him so terrifying. A dark aura surrounded him, and his piercing black eyes seemed to want to incinerate her. Your Majesty. Your Majesty. I know I was wrong. Please, forgive me. She was terrified and could only beg for mercy. She had dared to scheme against the emperor thinking the worst that could happen would be a pay cut or house arrest, but seeing the emperor in this state, she realized she was in far more trouble than she imagined. The emperor ignored her pleas. Lu De. Your Majesty. Lu De was terrified. Issue the decree. Queen Zhang, lacking in virtue, frivolous, immoral, incompetent, and ruthless, has today given the emperor hallucinogenic drugs. She is so bold as to harm the emperor. She is hereby stripped of her position as queen, demoted to a commoner, and confined to the cold palace. Your Majesty. The queen collapsed, her eyes wide with disbelief. She couldn't believe the emperor would depose her. What had she done wrong? Did she just want him to take a concubine? Why was she being punished so severely? The emperor turned to Xiao Lizi and the nanny beside the queen. Beat them to death with sticks and throw their bodies in a mass grave. Hearing the emperor's order, Zhang Miao threw on her robe and skirt and ran out of the palace. She knelt on the ground, begging for mercy. Your Majesty, please forgive me. The queen forced me to do it. She was panicked, knowing that things would eventually unravel, but she didn't expect it to happen tonight. Xiao Zhenye looked at Zhang Miao, kneeling and trembling, and remembered her reluctance in the past. Lu De, send her out of the palace. Although she had been forced, she was still involved. He would spare her life, but her fate was now her own. Thank you for your mercy, Your Majesty. Zhang Miao was relieved that she wouldn't be killed. As long as she wasn't executed, she would find a way to survive outside the palace. Lu De waved to a young eunuch and whispered, "Get her out of here. Now." He was afraid the emperor would change his mind and immediately sent someone to carry out the order. Zhang Miao was dragged away by the eunuch. She didn't resist, as if some savage beast was nipping at her heels, urging her to follow the little eunuch quickly. At that moment, Jiang Yu entered Fengchao Palace with a contingent of guards. Your Majesty. Xiao Zhenye gestured for Jiang Yu to rise and said coldly, "Take all the servants in Fengchao Palace to the Xinqing department. Execute those who committed murder directly. Send all those complicit in the crime to the E-Bureau. As you command." Jiang Yu saluted. Chapter 35. After the charming concubine became pregnant, the emperor doted on him every night. 35. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Returning to the palace, Xiao Zhenye felt a wave of heat and tension wash over him. His vision blurred. Lu De, he said, fetch the imperial physician. Soon after, a physician in his 40s, carrying a medicine box, followed a young eunuch into the room. Your Majesty, the blurred vision and dizziness stem from a mix of hallucinogens and aphrodisiacs. Is there a cure? Lu De asked anxiously from the emperor's side. Your Majesty, this Dr. Luo recoiled as if burned. Composing himself, he quickly asked, "Your Majesty, should I summon the Empress to your bedchamber?" Xiao Zhinya shook his head. The mere suggestion of it, after what happened. He felt a bitter irony at the words bedchamber. He'd been frightened and impotent before, but now he seemed to have no reaction at all. His pupils were bloodshot, the veins on his forehead pulsed, and it was difficult to speak. "Dr. Luo, check my pulse again." Summoning his courage, Dr. Luo took the Emperor's pulse once more. "Your Majesty, aside from the toxins from the hallucinogens and aphrodisiacs, there's nothing physically wrong." "Nothing wrong? Then why this impotence?" He felt a primal power within him, a need with nowhere to go. Xiao Zhinya glanced at Lu De, signaling him to clear the room of servants. Lu De waved his hand, and the attendants, understanding the cue, quickly withdrew. "Your Majesty." Seeing Dr. Luo feigning confusion, Xiao Zhinya ground out, "I was scared earlier, but now I can't get it up. I have no reaction." "Ah!" Lu De gasped. Dr. Luo had indeed felt it, but he dared not speak the truth. He feared his head would roll the moment the words left his lips. Seeing the doctor's lack of surprise, Xiao Zhinya knew he understood. He was simply too afraid to say it. "Your Majesty, forgive me. I must return and consult with the physicians at the Imperial Hospital." He wouldn't dare prescribe anything blindly. "His Majesty is in considerable discomfort. Is there anything you can do to ease it, Dr. Luo?" Lu De pressed anxiously. "Your Majesty, please be patient. I'll write a prescription and prepare some medicine." He could treat the toxins from the drugs, but the Emperor's condition? He had no remedy for that. Xiao Zhinya fixed the imperial physician with a piercing stare. "Keep your mouth shut. The consequences will be dire." "Understood, Your Majesty," Dr. Luo said, suppressing his fear and bowing respectfully. Leaving the Emperor's chamber, Dr. Luo exhaled, patting his chest. That was a close call. The Emperor, already unable to produce an heir, now couldn't even function as a man. How had he stumbled upon such a monumental secret? "Your Majesty, what are we going to do?" Lu De asked, worry etched on his face. Xiao Zhinya rubbed his temples, pressing hard. "I remember getting up to leave. How could I have stayed and been with that woman?" "Your Majesty, you did stand up and leave, but at the palace gate, you stopped and gazed at Zhang Miao as if she were your most beloved concubine. You took her hand and led her back inside. There was something strange in your eyes. You kept calling her by your concubine's name. I noticed something was wrong and called out to you, but you didn't seem to see anyone but Zhang Miao." Later, the queen ordered her people to drag the slave out of the palace and had her guarded. I had no choice but to signal Xiaoduzi to inform the concubine. Hearing Yun Yuren's name, Xiao Zhinya interrupted Lu De. "You went to inform Ran Ran. Why didn't I see her at Fengchao Palace?" "Your Majesty, the noble concubine had already left." He recalled Yun Yuren's terrifying expression at the time, his face a mask of complex emotions. "Your Majesty, I've never seen the queen so frightening." "How so?" "Your Majesty, as the Empress entered Fengchao Palace, she overheard you calling her name, your concubine's name, that is. Her face was like ice, she was like a demon crawled out of hell, a sinister look all over her body. She exuded the same kind of pressure as your Majesty, making me unable to breathe." The Empress loudly asked the servant if she was to be informed and witness your Majesty favoriting her concubines. "The Queen mocked your Majesty for your liveliness and energy. She looked at me as if she wanted to execute me by 1,000 cuts. She looked angry and sad at the same time, and for some unknown reason. She retched. After the retching stopped, she calmly told the slave not to disturb you, and left without looking back." A few moments after the Empress left Fengchao Palace, there was a loud crash and the palace door collapsed into ruins. "When the servants turned around to look, we saw you kicking Zhang Miao out of bed." Hearing that Yun Yuran had been both angry and hurt, Xiao Zhinya felt a pang of guilt, but in his current state, he lacked the courage to face her. "Lu De." "Yes, Your Majesty. Tomorrow morning, select some valuables from the treasury and send them to her. And find out how she's doing. Yes, your majesty, Lu De replied. Early the next morning, rumors of the queen's possible dethronement had already spread throughout the harem. When the imperial concubine awoke and heard the news, she laughed so hard she could barely contain herself. Ha ha ha. That bitch of a queen is finally out. Now, among all the concubines, I have the highest status. If it weren't for the queen, she might have become the imperial concubine. The queen was deposed and demoted to a commoner, and no one could hold her down anymore. Now she had to work hard to serve His Majesty and then climb into the position of queen. Seeing the imperial concubine's excitement, Aunt Qin Luo cautioned, "My queen, don't forget that the concubine only entered the palace a few days ago. You don't know how much your majesty loves her now." At the mention of Yun Yuran, the imperial concubine's face darkened. His Majesty had favored her for 3 days straight. She dug her nails into her palms, her fingertips turning white. Ha! Out with one bitch, in with another. Zhulan tied up the concubine's hair, smiled, and said softly, "Your Majesty, it doesn't matter if your Majesty favors her now. Maybe the novelty has passed, and your Majesty will abandon her. This kind of thing has happened before. In the end, His Majesty will not return to the imperial concubine." The past 3 days were difficult for the imperial concubine. She could barely hold her breath after thinking about everything that had happened. "My dear, don't be anxious, be careful not to mess with your sense of proportion." Zhu Lan inserted the last hairpin. The imperial concubine touched the beautiful hairpin on her head, looked in the mirror, and lightly parted her red lips. "Yes, I really can't be in a hurry, and that bitch queen just lost her sense of proportion and annoyed your Majesty just because she was anxious. She is waiting for His Majesty in Lan Yu Pavilion. She believes that His Majesty will come back to her soon." Chapter 36. After the charming concubine became pregnant, the emperor doted on him every night. 36. You are listening at novelfull.audio. When the queen mother woke, she heard the queen had been dethroned and immediately sent Aunt Guizhi to find out what happened. "Your Majesty," Aunt Guizhi reported, "I learned the queen was dethroned because she poisoned the emperor with something that caused hallucinations and confusion. That's what made His Majesty so angry." Hearing this, the queen mother grew more worried. "Is the emperor all right? The hallucinogenic drug affected him. I heard he had a terrible headache and blurred vision last night and had to call Dr. Luo in the middle of the night. After examining him, Dr. Luo prescribed something to help relieve the toxins." Guizhi hesitated, then continued, "I also heard that after Dr. Luo returned, he summoned all the imperial doctors to study an antidote." The queen mother was furious and threw her teacup. "That queen has got some nerve, daring to poison the emperor. Demoting her to a commoner is too good for her, she thought she was so clever. We didn't make a big deal out of it for the sake of stability. But now, she's drugged the emperor again. She really thinks she can do whatever she wants. I think because His Majesty didn't punish her last time, she thought he was afraid of her brother and got too bold. Humph, she's trash." The queen mother wished she could strangle the queen. If it weren't for her brother who helped the emperor take the throne, would she have become the queen? The queen mother stood up. "Guizhi, I need to see the emperor. I won't rest easy until I do." A large group followed the queen mother towards the Yangshin palace. In the morning, the ministers were waiting for the emperor to arrive in court. They were chattering in the main hall, discussing the issue of choosing an heir. Then, everyone watched as Lu De respectfully held a scroll of yellow imperial edict. The hall went silent as they stopped whispering and stood waiting for Lu De to read the decree. Lu De stood above the hall and announced, "His Majesty isn't feeling well today, so we will negotiate with the courtiers. I will now read His Majesty's decree." They all thought the emperor had already chosen an heir. Lu De opened the edict and read, "By the grace of heaven, the emperor decrees, Queen Zhang is evil and ruins the emperor. She keeps him sick and disrupts the stability of the country. From today, the queen is deposed and demoted to a commoner and banished to the cold palace." So it is decreed. That the courtiers looked at each other, surprised. They had expected an edict about an heir, not a decree deposing the queen. General Lu Qing asked, "Eunuch Lu, how is His Majesty? Is it serious?" Lu De sighed. "General, His Majesty has suffered greatly. Dr. Luo diagnosed him last night. The medicine can only provide some relief. The doctors at the Imperial Hospital are still studying an antidote. Hearing Luda, they realized the emperor was in rough shape. Seeing their changing expressions, Luda chuckled. Ministers, don't worry. I'm sure the Imperial Hospital will develop an antidote soon. While His Majesty is unwell, I hope you all will put in extra effort and share his burdens. Remember to do your duty so His Majesty can focus on recovering from his illness. Yun Qian stood up and looked at Luda. Eunuch Luda, did His Majesty say anything about choosing an heir? Luda smiled. Prime Minister, that's not something you need to worry about right now. Why isn't it? His Majesty is critically ill, and he only has a step heir. That's fine for a day or two, but who will handle all these government affairs? Luda's eyes darkened, and he stopped smiling. Anyway, it's not your problem. What are you saying, sir? How could I handle government affairs for His Majesty? You're trying to set me up so I can be accused of disrespecting the emperor. Luda stared at Yun Qian, half smiling. Does the Prime Minister still know about disrespecting the emperor? I thought you had forgotten your duty as a minister. They argued back and forth, and Yun Qian had to back down. Luda was an eunuch, but he had connections in high places. The Prime Minister was still a minister. If the emperor wanted to punish him, there was nothing he could do. He'd better keep his mouth shut. At that moment, Lin Xing, the censor of the Metropolitan Procuratorate, interrupted. Eunuch Luda, has His Majesty issued a decree regarding the Zhang family? His Majesty has issued a decree. Zhang Yunyi's poor parenting led his daughter to evil. She dared to poison His Majesty. He was stripped of his title and demoted 2 ranks from General Dingyuan. After being demoted from the 2nd rank to the 3rd, I wonder how Zhang Feng will feel when he returns to the capital. Lin Xing silently supported him. If it weren't for Zhang Feng's military achievements over the years, Xiao Zhenye would have seized the Zhang family's property, but for the sake of the empire, Xiao Zhenye couldn't demoralize the courtiers, especially the generals. He was afraid people would think he was the kind of person who gets rid of people when he doesn't need them. Although he won't seize your property, you will be punished. Otherwise, everyone would try to poison him, and his life would be in danger every day. Besides, now is not the right time to get rid of the Zhang family, and they need to stay around. It's best that Zhang Feng doesn't get any ideas, or he'll regret it later. After Luda ordered all the things the emperor asked the courtiers to do, he went back to the warehouse to select items. He didn't forget the emperor's request to send valuable items to the noble concubine. As soon as Yun Yuran opened her eyes, Chuyue saw that she was awake. My dear, you're awake. Is there anything worth being happy about? I'll be happy for you. Your Majesty, Eunuch Lu just brought lots of valuable items, which he said were a gift from the emperor. They're so beautiful and exquisite. Oh, Eunuch Lu is back. Not yet, Xiao Shizi is waiting in the side room. Eunuch Lu is waiting for you to wake up. Why wait for her to wake up? She worked so late last night and couldn't pay her respects to the queen this morning. After thinking for a moment, Yun Yuran asked, what time is it now? Mother, it's just past Mao Shi. Chuyue tidied the bed. Chunhua came in with a wash basin, wrung the handkerchief, and handed it to Yun Yuran to wash her face. Yun Yuran wiped her face casually and gave the handkerchief to Chunhua. Give me a simpler hairstyle today. I need to pay my respects to the queen. She went to Fengchao Palace last night but didn't see the queen, and she didn't know what the queen would think. Chunhua picked up the comb and combed Yun Yuran's hair, saying, Mother, you don't have to go and greet the queen. Last night, because the queen poisoned His Majesty, he became seriously ill. The queen has been deposed and demoted to a commoner and sent to the cold palace overnight. What? Yun Yuran was surprised. She didn't expect the emperor to depose the queen so quickly. Chapter 37 After the charming concubine became pregnant, the emperor doted on him every night. 37. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Your Majesty, no need to be shocked. I heard things were pretty bad. We had the imperial doctor over last night, and now the whole imperial hospital is scrambling to find an antidote. Wasn't the emperor all smiles last night? How did he end up needing a doctor so suddenly? And it's serious, Star. Just then, the system piped up, you scared the living daylights out of him last night, remember? So what if he's a little shaken up? Worst case, he'll just become a eunuch. Oh, turning the emperor of the whole country into a eunuch is no big deal. Besides, he was dosed with a love potion last night. The effect's gotta go somewhere, so how is this not a big deal for the emperor? Yun Yuran couldn't help but chuckle. Asterisk serves him right for provoking me, that's what he gets. Star. The system rolled his digital eyes. He's the target you're supposed to be seducing. I know, quit nagging. Just making sure you haven't forgotten your mission. As if I could. If I had, I would have torn Fengchao Palace apart last night, instead of just giving him a little scare. Just checking. The system went silent. Since she was off the hook from paying respects to the Empress, Yun Yuran decided to take it easy. Choyue, let Eunuch Lu know that everything's taken care of here. Lu De entered Mengyu Palace and bowed respectfully. Greetings, Your Majesty. Eunuch Lu, no need for formalities. Looking at him, Yun Yuran asked casually, what brings you to Mengyu Palace so early, Eunuch Lu? His Majesty ordered me last night to deliver some valuable items to the Queen this morning. I also wanted to check on how the Queen rested last night. That's all. I'm doing just fine, thanks for your concern, Eunuch Lu. Lu De, seeing that Yun Yuran looked good, was in high spirits. He took his leave. Since Your Majesty has nothing else, I'll be going now. When Eunuch Lu sees His Majesty, tell him I'm thrilled with his gifts and grateful for his generosity. Yes, I'll be sure to pass along your message. Meanwhile, in the Yanshin Hall, the Emperor was lying in bed. He was feeling groggy, thinking that he's no longer fully capable of doing his duty. Asterisk if he hadn't been a strong man, anyone else would have broken. Star. He can no longer produce heirs. How could he accept that? Xiao Xinye's thoughts were racing when he heard the Empress Dowager's voice and looked toward the entrance. The Empress Dowager, supported by Aunt Guizhi, was walking towards the bed. Emperor, how are you feeling? She asked, her voice full of concern. Mother, I'm all right. What brings you here? This old lady was so worried, she couldn't help but come see for herself. The Empress Dowager gently touched the Emperor's cheek, her eyes reflected her concern. I'm sorry for worrying you, Mother. The Emperor felt ashamed. What are you saying? You're my son. Who else would I worry about if not you? It's all my fault for being so unfilial and causing you so much worry. Tell me what happened last night. Mother, I believe you've heard I dismissed the Queen. I have, but I don't know the whole story. Mother, yesterday the Queen sent word that she wasn't feeling well and asked me to keep her company. After finishing my official duties, I went to Fengchao Palace. After dinner, the Queen suggested that it was a rare opportunity for me to visit, so I spent some more time with her. Then, just as I was about to leave, everything went blank. When I woke up, I was in bed with the Queen, both of us disheveled. Not only was I given a love potion, but also a hallucinogen. The hallucinogen can cause hallucinations and knock people unconscious. After a pause, he saw that only Grandma Guizhi and the Empress Dowager were present. He said with an effort, because of the love potion, I almost had relations with Zhang Miao, but then there was a sudden commotion at the palace door. The noise startled me, bringing me back to reality, but it also gave me such a fright that I am no longer able to perform that duty. Xiao Xinye explained everything in detail, his face pale and weak. The Empress Dowager was furious at the news that the Emperor can no longer have sex with women, her eyes blazing. She angrily said, that hussy has caused my son so much pain. If I had known this, I wouldn't have let her off the hook last time. Queen Mother, it's all my fault. I wasn't careful enough. I didn't think she would do anything so outrageous in public. He had underestimated the Queen, which allowed her to get away with it again. It's not your fault. A thief can always find an opening, sooner or later. It's my fault for being too lenient. I should have taken stronger measures. That's why this happened. If he had punished the queen earlier, she wouldn't have had the chance to cause so much trouble. Son! What are we going to do about your health? The Empress Dowager was deeply concerned, her voice trembling. I ordered Dr. Luo to look into it last night. Hopefully, with his skills, he can find a cure. In reality, the emperor wasn't sure. The biggest problem was that he couldn't get treatment openly. The Empress Dowager had no choice but to accept it for now. She wished she could tear the queen apart. She patted the emperor's hand gently. I'll go back to Shokong Palace for now. You get some rest. If anything happens, have Lu De let me know. Yes, Queen Mother. After the Empress Dowager left, the emperor was alone in the Yangxin Hall. He looked at the canopy above him, feeling utterly alone. He didn't have a wife who truly loved him, nor children to cherish. Suddenly, he felt lost, unsure why he had been working so hard all these years. Was it for the good of the people, or for his own ambition? The system suddenly sensed something was wrong and issued an alarm. Xiao Ran, the emperor's about to have a meltdown. Go and soothe him, quick. If he has a meltdown, so be it. No big deal. Yun Yuan wasn't interested. He brought it on himself. Who can he blame? The system suddenly realized how ruthless the host was. One moment she's attracted to the emperor, the next she abandons him. Xiao Ran, he's a good emperor who serves the country and its people. Since his heirs are in trouble, that's why you're here to save him. If you ignore him now, and he collapses, throwing the country into chaos, your mission will fail. So, you're saying I have to give birth to a child for him and heal his trauma? Of course. Did you think it was just about giving birth? It's not that simple. System, are you trying to trick me? Yun Yuan demanded. This system didn't trick you. I told you from the start that he's a good emperor, but he has no heirs and needs you to bear them. Yeah, you only told me to give birth to the child, but you didn't mention healing his trauma. Yun Yuan retorted. Do you think an emperor with inadequacies wouldn't be on the verge of collapse? Some turn into tyrants, cruel and murderous, while others fall apart and lose themselves. All of these are consequences of collapse. I sent someone to comfort him to prevent these events from happening. What is he missing? You make up for what is missing. Ha! So, if he needs children, I have to give him children, and if he needs love, I have to give him love. The system nodded eagerly. Yes, that's exactly it. Yun Yuan's cheeks puffed up with anger. She'd been tricked. She thought it was just about giving birth. Chapter 39. After the charming concubine became pregnant, the emperor doted on him every night. 39. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Yun Yuan stayed silent, hoping the emperor would realize his mistake and not repeat it. It's fine, he replied, but his tone lacked the tenderness from earlier. Are you okay? Xiao Zhinya asked, surprised. If Ran was hurt, would you even care? She retorted, her eyes welling up. Pushing the emperor away, she sat on the edge of the bed, silently weeping. The sound of her tears broke Xiao Zhinya's heart. He hugged her from behind. Ran, don't cry. I'm an idiot. I let my desires get the best of me. I wasn't careful enough, and I made you angry and sad. Hit me, scold me, do whatever you want, but I'll never retaliate. Yun Yuan knew she had made her point. She turned and rested her head on the emperor's chest, burying herself in his arms. Really? You promise you won't fight back or even scold me? Of course, I swear. I'd never lie to you. I'm the emperor, my word is my bond. Yun Yuan giggled, lightly tapping his chest with a small fist. Why would Ran want to hit you? You're so good to me. The system scoffed, rolling its eyes. I wonder who was just giving him the cold shoulder, and whose actions almost got him removed from the throne. A woman's words are nothing but lies. You can't trust them, especially when it comes to Yun Yuan. Besides, your chest is so hard. Hitting you is like tickling you. I'd probably hurt my hand more than you'd feel it. Xiao Xinye smiled, choosing to believe she didn't want to hurt him. If Yun Yuran knew what he was thinking, she would have laughed. I already took care of you last night, leaving you unable to get out of bed. There's nothing left to be reluctant about. Seeing the emperor's mood improve, Yun Yuran said, you're still not well. I don't want to disturb your rest. I'll head back to Mengyu Palace. Can't you stay a little longer? You just got here. The emperor looked dejected. Wouldn't my constant presence become a burden? What are you talking about? You're my concubine. It's natural for you to care for me when I'm sick. All right then, but don't say I overstayed my welcome. Xiao Xinye wanted to see Yun Yuran every day. There was no way he could tire of her. With Yun Yuran by his side, the emperor quickly recovered. Within days, he regained his imperial presence, his sluggishness gone, his issues with laziness couldn't be fixed overnight, and the emperor had to accept that. After staying in Yangxin Palace for half a month, Yun Yuran returned to her Mengyu Palace. As soon as she got back, Yun Yuran threw herself onto the bed, sprawling out like a starfish, completely relaxing. Home sweet home. Nothing beats your own bed. In the hall of mental cultivation, she constantly had to monitor her every move and couldn't act freely. She had to maintain appearances, even avoiding lazy movements, afraid of being judged by the palace maids and eunuchs. Otherwise, the rumors would spread about her lack of decorum. Although she still cared for the emperor, being with him every day was exhausting. That evening, under the cover of a dark and windy night, Yun Yuran opened her eyes. She quietly put on her outer robe and skirt, gently walked out of the inner room, opened the palace door, and slipped out unnoticed. After placing a barrier on the door and using her wood-type power for invisible wall penetration, Yun Yuran easily left the palace. The streets were mostly deserted. When she did encounter someone, Yun Yuran simply turned invisible, making sure no one could see her. She headed straight for the Prime Minister's mansion. Soon arriving at Yun Weining's courtyard, the only sound in the yard was the distinct sound of something exciting and intense. Yun Yuran wore an expression of surprise. Wow. Yun Weining is really good at this. She's actually hanging out with a man in the middle of the night. And they're not even married yet. Xiao Ziheng is going to be a cuckold. TSK. I don't know if Xiao Ziheng would be so angry that he would vomit blood if he found out. As Yun Yuran approached Yun Weining's room, a male voice, panting heavily, said, Inger, tell your father and grandfather to pressure His Majesty in court to hurry up and choose an heir. The emperor's sudden illness had made him think his chance was coming, but the emperor had unexpectedly recovered. He was growing anxious, seeing his prize slipping away. He was desperate. The Zhang family used to have the queen as an ally, and they thought they could get Zhang Guizhang on their side. But the queen ruined everything by trying to poison the emperor. Now the queen was deposed, her title revoked, and even General Ding Yuan, who was far away on the border, was demoted from a second-rank general to a third-rank general. Prince, don't worry. Even if you didn't ask, I would do everything I can to help you. Inger is so understanding. Don't worry. As soon as my adoption is finalized and I become the crown prince, Inger will definitely be the crown princess. Thank you, Your Highness. The woman's voice was soft and seductive, accompanied by the sounds of rhythmic slapping, the sound rising and falling in the chaos of the bumps. Yun Yuran smirked, realizing it was these two lowlifes, a match made in heaven. Yun Yuran used her mental powers to knock both of them unconscious, then, carefully controlling her powers, she covered them tightly with quilts before entering the room. She didn't want to see anything explicit. After buying a fake pregnancy pill from the system store, Yun Yuran forced it into Yun Weining's mouth. She glanced at Xiao Ziheng, narrowing her eyes and smirking. Using her power, she entered Xiao Ziheng's body and performed a vasectomy, healing the wound perfectly, leaving no trace. Haha, you should also have a taste of being childless. The system watched Yun Yuran's actions and felt a chill in the room. Xiao Ran, you are truly a cruel woman. If you aren't cruel in the world, you won't last long. Yun Yuran replied calmly, without emotion. They say nice people don't live long, and disasters live for thousands of years. For the sake of my own survival, I'll become the source of disaster. It's better to harm others than to be harmed. Xiao Ran, why did you give Yun Wenying a fake pregnancy pill? Originally, I came here tonight to throw her into the street, making her a despised slut, ruining her reputation, but now that they're sleeping together, I thought of a better plan. I'll get her pregnant and help her marry into Prince Wenshuan's palace quickly, hee, and when she enters the palace, I'll go and have some fun with her. I won't stop until she dies or breaks. Yun Yuran chuckled, imagining the chaos that would unfold in Prince Wenshuan's palace. Gaining and losing will be enough to drive anyone mad. Oh, she wants her to live in pain every day. She likes beggars so much, I'll be sure to find many for her when the time comes, so she can have all the fun she desires. Chapter 40. After the charming concubine became pregnant, the emperor doted on him every night. 40. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Yun Yuran hurried back to the palace, changed, and slipped into bed. Your Majesty, that she stirred awake at Chunhua's voice. What's up? Chunhua and Chuyue usually didn't wake her unless it was important. Eunuch Lu is here to deliver a decree from the emperor. Yun Yuran frowned. A decree this early? I'll help you get dressed, Your Majesty. Once she was presentable, Yun Yuran headed out. Greetings, Imperial Concubine, Lu De said with a respectful smile. Eunuch Lu, you're too kind. What's this decree about? Please prepare to receive the order, Lu De replied, with no explanation forthcoming. Yun Yuran had no choice but to kneel. Lu De unfurled the bright yellow imperial edict and began to read. By the Emperor's grace, Yun family's noble concubine is intelligent, dignified, prudent, respectful, and mindful of etiquette. She is hereby named Imperial Concubine and will assist in managing the 6 palaces. Accept this. Yun Yuran's jaw dropped. What? She was speechless. Please accept the order, Imperial Concubine, Lu De said, barely suppressing a grin. Eunuch Lu De, are you sure you read that right? Yun Yuran took the edict, staring at Lu De in disbelief. The Imperial Concubine jests. This is His Majesty's will. How could I misread it? Eunuch Lu, I need you to wait here. She glanced at Chunhua. Chunhua discreetly slipped a heavy purse from her sleeve and presented it to Lu De. A token of our appreciation, Eunuch Lu. You're too kind, Your Majesty. It's just my duty to deliver His Majesty's will. He said, accepting the purse. Eunuch Lu, please, come inside for some tea. I must return to His Majesty. Thank you, but I cannot stay. As soon as Lu De left, cheers erupted from Mengyu Palace. Congratulations, Your Majesty. Congratulations. Spring flowers, autumn moon, double everyone's monthly allowance. Thank you for your generosity, Imperial Concubine. The maids and eunuchs kowtowed gratefully. Rise. As long as you do your jobs well, you will be taken care of. We will remember your teachings, Your Majesty. Have the reward stored away. Yes, Your Majesty. Back inside, Yun Yuran grinned. Chunhua, Chuyue, go get breakfast ready. Yes, ma'am. The moment they left, Yun Yuran jumped on the bed, giggling. What's with the old emperor? Why is he being so good to me? That she was now the highest-ranking concubine in the palace. No more bullying. Lu De, how did Ran like my surprise? Was she happy? Very happy, Your Majesty. She was stunned, and even asked if I'd read the edict correctly. Ha! I knew she'd be pleased. Xiao Zhenye smiled, thinking of her surprised expression. Something had shifted within him. He no longer wanted to compromise. He wanted to follow his heart. She was the woman he loved, and he would protect her. As long as he was alive, she would be free in the palace. She would answer to no one but him and the Empress Dowager. He actually wanted to make her queen, but he'd only just deposed the last one. He figured being the 3rd most powerful person in the palace was a good start. Smash! A teacup shattered. Bitch! Bitch! The imperial concubine's face contorted in rage as she clenched her fists. Why? Why was the emperor treating her like this? She'd been in the palace for over 10 years, if she did not deserve merit, she deserved hard work. Yet, the emperor hadn't named her imperial concubine, but some woman who'd been here less than a month. Why? What was so special about that tramp? Mother, please calm down. You'll hurt yourself. Slap. It's all your fault. You said His Majesty would come back. Not only did he not, he's made that whore an imperial concubine. Empress. Zhulon whimpered, what did His Majesty's absence have to do with her? If you hadn't said he was coming back, I wouldn't have waited so long. That she had tried to visit him during his illness, but he hadn't let her into the hall of mental cultivation. She knew that bitch was inside, but the emperor wouldn't allow her in. Now, half a month after his recovery, he'd made a concubine an imperial concubine. Ridiculous. So what if she was the prime minister's daughter? She was still just a concubine. Zhulon could only apologize. It's my fault. Please forgive me. Get out. I don't want to see you. Take 10 lashes. Yes, Your Majesty. Thank you for your forgiveness. Wronged as she was forced to thank her for the punishment, but she was a mere palace maid, powerless and insignificant. She could only suffer in silence. The imperial concubine was furious. I'm going to see His Majesty. I need to know what's going on. Soon, she arrived at the hall of mental cultivation. She glared at the eunuch blocking the door. Tell His Majesty I'm here. Yes, concubine. The young eunuch slipped inside to inform the emperor, but the young eunuch did not come out. The imperial concubine grew impatient. Dog slave. Get out of the way. You're delaying my visit with His Majesty. You'll lose your head for this. The eunuch hesitated. His Majesty hasn't announced your entrance yet, Your Majesty. Please wait patiently. You dog slaves. You know who I am. I'm His Majesty's most beloved concubine. You disrespect me, and I'll complain to His Majesty later. Please wait a moment, Your Majesty. The eunuch at the door refused to budge. The imperial concubine seethed. You'll pay for this. She glared at the three eunuchs. She looked like she wanted to eat them alive, terrifying the eunuchs. As the young eunuch was about to report to Luda about the imperial concubine's arrival, Luda quickly signaled him to be silent. The young eunuch did not dare to move or make any sound, and just stood silently behind Luda. After a cup of tea, Xiaozhinya looked up at Luda. What's all the noise outside? Luda quickly said, Your Majesty, the imperial concubine is here. What does she want? The emperor put down his brush. He'd been buried in government affairs for so long. I don't know, Luda said. Your Majesty, she says she's here to visit. Humph. I don't need her visit. Xiaozhinya's eyes darkened as he stared at Luda. Tell her to leave, and not to bother me unless it's important. I don't have time. Yes, Your Majesty. Luda bowed. The young eunuch also bowed and followed Luda out. Luda closed the door gently and looked at the imperial concubine with disdain. His Majesty asks you to leave. He says not to disturb him if you have nothing important to say. He's busy. His Majesty said that. The imperial concubine stared in disbelief. She couldn't believe the emperor suddenly disliked her so much. What had she done wrong? She'd been peaceful and cooperative. It's true, Your Majesty. These are His Majesty's words. Please leave. Don't make a scene and disturb him. You know the consequences. I don't believe he would treat me this way. I haven't caused him any displeasure. Why won't he let me visit? Please don't make things difficult, Your Majesty. I don't know why he won't let you in. You should leave. Luda was tired of this. He didn't like the imperial concubine. The emperor had favored her in the past. She used that favor to treat the eunuchs arrogantly. Now that she'd fallen out of favor, he was being nice by not adding insult to injury. She was still acting like a boss, annoyingly noisy. Slave. Just because you're the emperor's eunuch doesn't mean you can push me around. I won't leave until His Majesty tells me himself. Hearing the noise outside, Xiaojinye rubbed his temples. When did he find this imperial concubine so irritating? She was acting like she ran the place. He'd only shown her a little affection, and she'd become so bossy. Lu De, tell her to get lost. If she refuses, have the guards escort her back. Xiaojinye's irritated voice echoed. The imperial concubine's eyes were red with tears. She stumbled backward, unable to believe that this was the emperor who had cherished her. In the past, he usually spent a lot of time in her courtyard, at least 3 out of 10 times. Now, he was telling her to leave. She leaned on Aunt Qingluo's shoulder and began to cry. Her tears fell silently and she couldn't stop them. She was so unwilling. What had she done wrong? Why did the emperor dislike her when she had been so good?